it was definitely worth waiting. We do have sound now. Yes, here we go. So did you have fun watching me lip sync for 6.5 minutes? I can't even imagine what I was saying in your mind at the time, but I can't wait for the remix. Hopefully DJ picked that up and he can add something exciting to it. Thank you for joining me this edition of Leak Project. How the heck are you? Unbelievable. Well, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. When you get that excited, I was so excited. You know, I was talking about this amazing colostrum that I'm taking from getthetea.com. I even shared with you how easy it is to mix up. And dang it, we missed out on that. But okay, let's talk about what's important now. We'll start over. I have 23 cards to share with you at first that predict the future, that parallel current events. These cards, in my opinion, the way that I lined them up also, it'll give you a timeline from then until now. Steve Jackson is the publisher, the creator of these Illuminati cards. This is the NWO version that came out, I think, in 94, 95. You can actually still get some of these cards. They don't make them anymore, but they are still available. You can go to sjgames.com, Steve Jackson Games, or you could probably go to Amazon because SJ Games has a storefront on Amazon, and you can collect them as well. I have about 300 or so of these cards, and I handpicked 23 that I think totally parallel what's going on right now, what's happened recently over the past 10, 15 years. And afterwards, I might possibly share with you a few additional cards that I could see being very close on the horizon. So what a beautiful day in San Antonio. Later on, I might go up into hill country or take you guys on a field trip because I need to get out of grandma's garage, as amazing as it is in here. So the first card that I'm going to share with you is the Frankenfood card, the Frankenfood card. This card is used almost every single day by almost every single human being on the planet. Unless you're fortunate enough, and in some ways unfortunate, that you're so far out in the middle of nowhere that you don't have access to anything except for what you grow. And that's probably not genetically modified. GMO has literally taken over the majority of the planet. The majority of people's food supply and beverage supply is some type of genetically modified organism. Whether or not they're using aborted baby cells as flavor enhancers, whether or not they're using corn that actually produces chemicals without even being sprayed by poisonous chemicals, that if bugs go eat, will cause the digestive system of the bugs to collapse and then the bugs die. Well, they feed that to you, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have kids that go to public school, well, the food that they're eating is probably worse than what many of these fast food restaurants give out to the consumer, which is disgusting and true. So Frankenfood is getting worse by the week. It's becoming more powerful, it's usurped up more of the natural biological seeds and growth that has been easily available for hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of years. Now we have to manipulate it, kind of like they want to manipulate the weather. And within 7 years, I'll get to that card in just a moment. But the Frankenfood card, if you think about it, how many people have been damaged, injured, or even had an illness or a disease that created their death, that led to their death, based on Frankenfood, based on genetically modified food. Now, glyphosate, Roundup, that's in virtually all the corporate products available today that you consume. Glyphosate, Roundup is not good for you. They're even finding glyphosate in vaccines that doctors will now recommend you give to pregnant women. Any doctor that does that willingly, not knowing how, I mean, if you don't know, if you're just ignorant, that's one thing. Although if you're a doctor, you should truly know. Yet with the education system and the indoctrination system, combined with many people that choose to be doctors, not all of them, but a lot of them, because of their superiority complex that many of them have, a lot of them lack empathy and feeling. Well, they give vaccines if their pharmaceutical masters and their corporate controllers, essentially, is what it breaks down to, tells them to. Oh, well, new studies find it's okay. New studies say, you know, there's, read through a vaccine insert at the bottom. It says you need to be, if you're administering these vaccines, you need to warn the patients and talk to them about the side effects and the cause and effect, and also ask them if they've had previous problems. When was the last time a doctor actually warned his patient about a vaccine? Well, anyway, the Frankenfood stuff is absolutely frightening when you think about the amount of poisonous cocktails that are inside of the foods that you are consuming, the drinks in your fridge, the snacks, the dips, the chips, the pig lips inside of a hot dog. And then let's see what the radiation levels are, by the way. The radiation levels have been fluctuating, moving up and down. Right now, my Digi is showing 0.11 microsieverts per hour, which isn't a big deal. My watch is showing 0.12. This was up earlier to 0.13, which is about 30% higher than the average as has been lately the past few weeks. You know, it used to just hover around 0.07. Then every year it's gone up and up and up and up. And I don't think it's Fukushima, folks. I think it's because of the atmospheric conditions, the depletion of the stratosphere, that those that love us so much, that are a part of the International Weather Organization, card number 2. Yes, that's right. The military wants to control the weather completely by 2025. Am I a conspiracy theorist? Yes. Thank you for the compliment. And this is also a fact. Research it. Military weather control 2025. I've had guests on the show that used to do contracting work for NASA and other Department of Defense institutions, astrophysicist type organizations, or many people that are astrophysicists that work for these organizations. He came on the show. He has technology and equipment that tracks different parts of the ozone. And his calculations and forecasts are showing that in 7 years, we won't even be able to grow crops outside unless they're highly genetically modified, or you're going to have some type of greenhouse. That reminds me of Blade Runner 2049, where the crops are grown indoors in greenhouses. The planet has been devastated. There's mega cities and mega wastelands, and it is just a complete description of one possibility. If we continue to go down this path that we've been going on for the past couple hundred years, you guys, it could be very dangerous extremely fast. What happens when the government controls, well, let's say the Department of Defense controls the weather, or the military controls the weather for so long that you can't create rain naturally? You can't create cloud cover naturally. And so much of the ozone gets depleted from the chemicals that you're putting into the ozone that you have to continue to spray the ozone because of something that you started. Now, if you think that that is just a big conspiracy, you can even read an article from Norway, 2013, where they absolutely admit the entire world is a petri dish in a test, and you are the lab rat because the globe is being manipulated to cool down. So they're saying that if the temperature raises 5 degrees in 50 years, it'll be catastrophic and most beings will die, including us possibly. Yet what's worse, for the temperature to raise 5 degrees globally, or for there to be no atmosphere or a very little amount of atmosphere? I think that those are very valuable questions to ask. Now, I don't even know if I'm still connected here on the web. It looks like I got disconnected while I'm doing this show. Are we still live? I froze up there for a minute. Okay, we're good to go. Yep. So the International Weather Organization card, remember you guys, this is from 23 years ago. 23 years ago, this card was picked up as well. The International Weather Organization creating global warming, mass floods. Will Antarctica completely melt? If so, what will that do to the coasts? Also, keep in mind the recent research that I shared with you from a essay that was put into an alphabet agency's classified section for a while. It's declassified, Freedom of Information now, and I was able to pick up a copy that's actually autographed for super cheap. I don't even think you can find these things now. I looked the other day, and the cheapest one I could find wasn't even the old version. It was the newer version, and they wanted like $500 for it. But it talks about the Adam and Eve story. And you can, I think Michael Lambert, or I can't remember his name, but look up the Adam and Eve story if you want to know about it. And you can read the declassified, sanitized version online talking about this Earth change every X amount of years. And it isn't from a comet. It isn't from an asteroid. It's from an internal explosion. But my question is, if we destroy the atmosphere before something like that happens, before a reset, if the atmosphere gets completely destroyed, will the Earth become the next red planet? Will we be the next Mars? Why are we going to Mars as it already being the red planet when this planet is blue? And saying that's going to be our future. How about instead of worrying about Mars, we figure out ways to save this planet, to save our future generations, heck, to save ourselves even. So the global warming card, the International Weather Organization card, and if you stay with me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share these two cards with you towards the end. The Las Vegas card, and look at this card that's next to it. Pretty spooky, pretty spooky. But let's do the timeline, okay? This is going to be a timeline. The next card that I feel did a incredible job foreseeing the future is the Pentagon card. This is the Pentagon card, the Pentagon from the Illuminati New World Order deck, the Pentagon card. And that same day, remember these guys? And look at the location. Look at the location. Now watch the footage that they share with you, the September events, the 11th, back in 2001. And watch where the plane, or at least what looks like a plane, look where it goes, right there. Now, what did that do for us, ladies and gentlemen? What did that do to the world after that day? Things have never been the same, in my opinion. The energy, literally, the global energy, I haven't been around the world, but I've been around the country, almost every state, and I feel different. The energy is different. It's darker. It's denser. It's more intense. It's it seems more limiting. It seems more fight or flight. It seems more controlled. Remember, I just turned 40. Growing up in the 80s and the 90s, it just seems so, people didn't really talk about race as a problem. I don't remember the media using race as a bait card. I don't really remember the media using even religion much as a bait card, and certainly the Homeland Security. Oh, keep an eye on everybody. Everybody could be a terrorist. You certainly didn't have that aspect. People just seemed more relaxed. They didn't look at people as much based on skin color and religion and stuff like that. They were listening to, the music was different. The movies were different. The TV was, the shows were different. My goodness. Married with Children, that used to be considered risque. Now look at what's on the television. Look what's available in programming. Everything kind of goes along with it. It's the industries. It's the education system. It's the medical industrial mafia complex. It's the numerous amounts of false flags. Let's go back to the 80s, you guys. Let's go back even to the 90s. How often did you see an event that you would question as a staged event, as something that was, if you use the term false flag, it doesn't mean nobody got hurt. That's just it's a side rail system. It's creating something. Hey, look over here. Well, they're sneaking in over there. It's the wag the dog. It's the mobile studio cleanup crew. It was a lot different, at least via perception, in the 80s and the 90s. And for those of you out there that grew up during the Vietnam era with the protests and the hippies and Woodstock and stuff like that, people seem to have a lot more passion back then. They seem to have a lot more overall. Not you guys listening to Leak Project. I think that most of you guys are about as passionate as they get because I read your comments and I get schooled from you guys every day. But I read through the comments now. Or we'll get to that in a minute. You go back to people that really would stand up for what they believed in back then. And they did have more of a path that they were on. Now it's like people are so confused yeah, they don't like the way things are going. But when you see that the massive protest that went on with Protest Wall Street, nobody really knew what the ultimate goal was. I mean, everybody that I talked to at least had they couldn't give me a straight answer. It looked like they just wanted to go out and play hacky sack and have a good time with their buddies. They really didn't have a solid point that they could meet and say, okay, this is how we're going to change things. If you go back into a situation like that, where you've got a few bucks, you've got somebody that can back up some of these events and help fund some of these events, you know, you get somebody that's like George Soros, but opposite, on the opposite spectrum, somebody that actually cares about people, that actually does want to see every single person on the planet reach their ultimate potential and see that there are glimpses of brilliance in even what you might consider average, and to really help people, to change the whole thing, not to bring it down with Antifa and these racist remarks and these, oh, let's label somebody as a racist because of the color of their skin. Like literally, it's amazing now. If you read some of these Antifa pamphlets, they talk about how if you're born white, then you're automatically a fascist racist and you should be punished. It's disgusting. So whether or not that pamphlet was legit or that was a plant as well, I don't know. But when the media shows these guys with full on, you know, black gear, they don't even, all you can do is see their eyes. They got camera crews behind them filming what they're doing. It certainly seems like things are staged and somebody's paying for it. So is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there on the opposite spectrum that has the kind of money that Soros does, that wants to see a change on this planet, that wants to see people reach their ultimate potential, that wants to see everybody have the opportunity to be independent or to be connected to something great? I certainly think if that was the case, I think we could get rid of global hunger, poverty. This war beast system would certainly be different. I think it would be a lot more balanced. Where are you, Flash Gordon? Where are you, Leto Atreides? Where are you at, man? So what did they get after 9/11? Well, I was going on a tangent there. What did they get? This is what they got. Law and order. Law and order. Welcome to the new world order. That's what they got. And also, who's fighting many of these wars now besides the military? Well, how about mercenaries? There's plenty of them out there now. That's a big business, big bucks, big money, mercenaries. Will this be more so the wave of the future wars fought with mercenaries? I don't know. Now, what about this card? Remember this? Bank mergers. Remember the bank mergers? Let's go back. What happened in the Iraq War, Afghanistan? What's still going on after this card, after this card, after this card? What do we get next? Mercenaries, right? How many, Blackwater, various mercenary groups. Then what happens a few years later? What happens in 2008? Let's go to 2008 when the market tanks. We go into a recession. People that are, have been saving for 30, 40, 50 years, people that might be retired, people that might have a little nest egg in their IRA or in their savings somewhere. Well, maybe based, not savings, but more so stocks. And a lot of people have money in stocks, and they, their broker or their investor says, oh, just hang on to it because in 10 years it'll be okay. Just hang on to it. They don't realize how easy it is to sell and how easy it is to buy stocks. So they hang on to it. And then you have these huge falls, and they keep saying, oh, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. But what kept happening? The markets kept going down and down and down and down and down and down. And then a lot of banks, they couldn't stay afloat. A lot of banks disappeared. Remember that? A lot of banks had to close their doors. And what happened with the bigger banks? Well, that created the bank mergers. Some of the larger banks merged. Also, what happened to Congress back in 2008? What were they told was going to happen if they didn't approve a new funds package, a new monetary get out of Dodge? Here you go. Here's a free pass. We're just going to make more money. the new federal budget. Remember, after the bank mergers, then we had the new federal budget, all the new money that they decided to create. And they started buying their own debt. I mean, it's genius if you think about it. Let's buy our own debt with our own debt. I mean, it's a debt-based system anyway, right? Just add a couple more zeros and just keep going and going and going and going. The new federal budget, which in return, who does that profit, ladies and gentlemen? Who profits off of that? Well, I would say the corporate masters. The corporate masters are heavily tied in with who? Who are these guys tied in with? Well, I don't know. I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Have you got my sandwich yet, Grandma? But these guys seem to be pretty strong. The military-industrial complex. Weren't we warned many years ago, even by a president of the United States? Wasn't there? Who was that one guy that said, be prepared if the military-industrial complex takes over? Well, what's going to be the future of that situation? Now, also, who else is heavily involved in the puppeteering of mankind? Who keeps many of the sheep asleep and who wakes up certain people? I feel that this is a double-edged sword sometimes. Hollywood. Hollywood will give you many answers and many ideas and many opportunities to create new ideas and opportunities and many warnings as well. Think about all the warnings that Hollywood has given the mass populace, literally by the billions. Think about how many billions of people around the world are influenced by Hollywood. How many times have you been warned about a future event in Hollywood? Now, you can let it control you or you can learn from it. You can actually take what it shows you and evolve and improve and grow. Now, that's my opinion. But I was warned about Hollywood and the media, and I learned when I was 15 by a great teacher that I had, a communications teacher. Bless his soul, he's no longer with us. This guy opened my eyes up at 15, sophomore year, about how the media manipulates the masses. So you can use it for your advantage, or you can let it use you to their advantage. And who also has an opportunity to make lots of money with Hollywood? And who helps Hollywood? The military-industrial complex. Your corporate masters. What about the Center for Disease Control? Let's go back to 2008. Remember when these guys and these guys said, well, what are we going to sell today, Bob? Well, let's sell the swine flu. Do you remember that guy going around back in 2008 that had on looked like a $5,000 suit, looked like a pair of $1,000 shoes, and he was selling the swine flu vaccine and how easy it is. It's just super easy. Everybody should get it. It'll keep you safe. Well, first of all, the company that I used to work for, I worked for a Fortune 100 company. I've told you guys this a million times. During that whole scare, I saw it as a psyop. And I met somebody that worked for the CDC. They might still work for the CDC. I can't say which department. This guy told me, because I said, this whole thing's a scam, isn't this whole thing's fake? He said, yep. People that even work for the CDC know it's fake. How disgusting is that? So, yeah, get your swine flu vaccine. Center for Disease Control also has a lot of clout, you guys. If there's a pandemic, the CDC can get these guys to create more of this, which, read the Strategic Relocation Act of 2011, which was once called the Peacetime Martial Law Bill, and they changed that bill. They changed the name of that bill in 2 days. The bill is the same. They just changed the title. I don't know, maybe people got a little bit nervous when they said, oh my goodness, there's a peacetime martial law bill that says if I have a business, it could take my business assets and it could take my employees and tell them where to work and how much money they're going to make. Well, it's for national security purposes, of course, and national defense. But what does it take to create a complete lockdown of information and people and, these FEMA camps that don't exist? We know that there's no such thing as concentration camps. Never in the history of America have they had concentration camps. That is not true, actually. If you want to research about concentration camps in America, My neighbor growing up, her mom and dad were in a concentration camp in America, and they are Japanese. Now, I will tell you this, the concentration camps in America were not nearly as bad as the ones in Germany and the Soviet Union and abroad and Japan. Nothing like that. But still, they had them. Now, the question is, if a global system takes over and a coup happens from within and our Constitution disappears, will they use the United Nations to clean up? Or will it be our very own military-industrial complex? Now, the American Medical Association. I think that this card is a perfect card to show how he's hanging out with a skeleton. What does that skeleton represent? That skeleton represents death, in my opinion. This is my opinion, of course. What you think is good for you, well, might be good for a skeleton. Now, what about the EPA? The EPA loves us. Thank goodness these guys love us, because even these guys warn us about mercury. They say, you know, one of the most volatile, poisonous mercuries is actually an organic mercury, and an organic mercury would be something such as thimerosal. So even these guys say thimerosal, an organic mercury, is dangerous and toxic. Yet, with that being said, these guys say it's okay to inject that into a pregnant mom as long as it says flu vaccine on the box, basically. Or not even on the box. Right here, these guys really love us. And guess what these guys do to these guys? Well, are you in the Army? Are you in the military? Are you in the Navy? Are you in the Air Force? Do you work for some part of the Department of Defense? Do you need to go overseas? Well, guess what happens to these guys when that happens? Well, these guys say, you need to get your vaccine. You need to get one, son. I got an anthrax vaccine for you. Do you know that people were injected with anthrax vaccines back in the Iraq war that weren't even sanctioned yet? So doctors couldn't even inject these people. They had to have veterinarians do it, vets and MPs. It's disgusting. So these guys, in my opinion, are about as sick as it gets. These guys are right here. These guys are the real sickos. These guys. But it's just my opinion. You know, everybody's got one. No, I'm joking. They're the best. They are the best. They just love us. They just love us. They love us so much. Now, what happened after? Okay. What happened just a few years ago, folks? What happened in Fukushima? Remember, 2011, 3/11, 11, 3/11, 11. What's 11 plus 11? 3/11, 11. Well, you know, this card, the tidal wave card. Will you just look at it? Fukushima, tidal wave, boom. You have several reactors now that are offline. Thank you so much. But you know what? None of that matters, you guys. Time out. I have to take time out here. None of that matters anymore. None of it. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that your children and yourself have probably been injected with poisonous cocktails. It doesn't matter that you're eating poison on a regular basis. It doesn't matter that there's cell phones next to nurseries and schools, cell phone towers, big ones. It doesn't matter that the stratosphere is getting destroyed by these aerosol injections. None of it matters, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter that there's 460 nuclear reactors approximately around the world. Doesn't matter that there's been a 76% depletion of all stratosphere in the past several years. Nope, doesn't matter. Does not matter, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you why it doesn't matter. I'll tell you why it does not matter. This is why it doesn't matter. Because the Earth's flat. The Earth is flat, so none of that matters. You don't got to worry about asteroids. You don't got to worry about Mars. You don't got to worry about any of it because the Earth is flat. So everything else is conspiracy, Jesuit controlled, okay? The Earth is flat. Don't you forget it. And I hope you know I'm being sarcastic. I do not think the earth is flat. Somebody left a comment on a video that I did the other day. They said, Rex, you're a flat earther. I'm out of here. Absolutely not. I am not a flat earther. So just want to make that very clear. All right. So flat earth card. Bingo. Let's throw a wrench in the engine. You can have a perfectly good conversation, and then somebody brings up the flat earth, and it's just like, bang, flat earth, man. And for those of you that would like to have more energy, I would strongly recommend checking out the Colostrum Complete. This stuff is awesome. I actually drank some of this at the beginning, just 1 teaspoon, but you guys didn't have the opportunity to listen to me talk while I was drinking it. So check that stuff out. Getthetea.com. You're going to love it. It's amazing. So what else are they doing right now, you guys? What else? Well, don't forget to smash the state. Well, yeah, they've kind of been doing that, haven't they? They've kind of been, well, you know, we need to get rid of that Civil War statue because that's all about evil. That's all about prejudice, man. That's it. We got to get rid of it. They're destroying right now bits and pieces of history that people still have access to. In 5-10 years, this stuff probably wouldn't even talk about the Civil War in school anymore. And if they do, they'll probably say the white man was so evil that he had to be abolished because it was him. It's just ridiculous. But I've read things that are even more ironic. Like recently, there was an article that said, a little bit of mercury is good for you. A little bit of mercury is good for your brain, helps you think better. Well, if you believe that, I have a wonderful opportunity for you. I've got a timeshare in Branson, and the maintenance fees are only $2,000 a year, and it's a beautiful timeshare, okay? It's 1 week a year, and you only have to pay $2,000 a year for maintenance fees. What a bargain. What a bargain. So, okay. Now, what about this card, ladies and gentlemen? Who does that look like? Well, I'll tell you, the color of his hair kind of makes me think of President Trump, right? Well, this looks like the President Trump card right here. This card right here, just look at it. The charismatic leader card. It's kind of funny because you go back to President Obama, and yes, we can play that backwards. It's thank you, Satan. If you don't believe me, look it up. Just play it yourself, then put it on Audacity, play it backwards. It says thank you, Satan. It's weird, but it does. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So that guy, you know, he didn't even put his hand over his heart during the national anthem. Do you remember that? But it's because he loves America so much. I mean, that really sets a tone for the future of that administration, in my opinion. It's all out of love, right? It's all out of love. So now we have a president that is taking more of a, we need to take care of ourselves before we take care of all these other countries first, at least the way that the media pushes it. And then you see the UN meeting where the president of Zimbabwe passes out while President Trump is talking about how countries need to take care of themselves first before they take care of other countries. And what does the media do? They make fun of him for it by saying that the president of Zimbabwe can't even stay awake. Well, shouldn't they probably make fun of the president of Zimbabwe because he can't even stay awake? Plus, did you see what happened to his country when they kicked out the farmers? Yeah, it's because we're racist, isn't it? So, yep, that's right. Anybody that thinks for themselves is racist. Doesn't matter what color your skin is. I mean, you could be purple, you could be black, green, yellow, orange, brown. It doesn't matter. If you think for yourself, you're racist, you're prejudiced. So the charismatic leader. Now, who is President Trump dealing with right now, ladies and gentlemen? Who is President Trump dealing with right now? He's dealing with Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim right there, man. Does that not look like Lil' Kim? Looks just like him to me. That looks like Kim Jong-un to me. Then, and what does this card say? What does this Hawaii card say? Well, you just look at it. Just look at it. Okay, so the Hawaii card is actually a vacation spot for the world's middle class. Hawaii gives one extra action when you have this card. Now, here's what's interesting. Remember how recently Kim said he's going to blow up Hawaii? Well, this kind of reminds me of Kim playing an actor with, who's he playing with? He's playing with these guys. You know, you've got that Wag the Dog special. You've got that, we're the cleanup crew. Let's control the narrative. Let's give everything to the media. So everything that people see is going to be from us. So we can bring all of our buddies. We can bring in our new security contracts. We can bring our new naked body scanners. We can bring in our new portable microwave scanners. Then maybe people will be so scared of themselves, everybody will want an internal security system to watch them inside of their house, all connected to the global worldwide smart grid. Because they love us so much, they don't want us to know about our history, and it doesn't matter. Nobody cares anymore because it's all a part of a conspiracy to keep us from believing in what? That's right, ladies and gentlemen, to keep us from believing in the flat earth. Timeshare. So also, here we go. Here's a good card for you. Professional sports card. This makes me think of the NFL. Why? Because it's got an NFL player right on the front of it. What recently happened to the NFL? Well, in my opinion, they probably cost themselves several billion dollars by making a point to, during the national anthem, make a knee, put a knee to the ground. Now, first of all, I think that is showing submission to your master by kneeling. You are kneeling to somebody, which if you want to do that, that's fine. And for those of you out there that truly believe in doing it for the reason of you feel that people of color have been treated wrongly, and you see things as a color matter more, and you feel that there needs to be awareness of that. If that's really what you're doing, I respect that. Hey, I get it, because you know what? This is the US of A, ladies and gentlemen. We do have a right to protest. We shouldn't have to, in my opinion, pledge allegiance to the flag. Yet if you work for an industry that makes billions of dollars, and every single game they put their hand on their heart, they pledge allegiance to the flag, that's a part of the show, that's a part of the game. If you don't play that game and you get fired, hey, that's what happens. That's the consequences, right? But when you see owners going on the field with the players and doing the same thing, it's a stage, it's an event. In my opinion, that was more about dividing the nation, not about creating a self-awareness of people of color being treated less respectful than people that don't have as much pigmentation in their skin. That's my opinion. So do you want to call me a racist for that too? Well, I have some very good friends that have much darker skin than myself, that are a lot smarter than myself. And if you want to believe that just, my opinion, shows your ignorance. But you're more than welcome to your opinion. Everybody has them, just like myself. We all have opinions. So I feel that this sports card, this professional sports card, could have been portraying the recent event, that happened, and the several, it's been several games. It's happened several times. It's actually happened several times over the course of a year, because I think the first time happened last year. All right, now let's get to the next card. This is another card that I feel is really, full force right now because of what has been. This is the year of the hurricanes. The year of the hurricanes, and how much control, if you use a hurricane to take out an island, use a hurricane to flood a city, or let's say a hurricane's already forming and you know how to, with the technologies that are available, you can actually make it more intense. You can steer it a little bit to the left. You can steer it a little bit to the right. So maybe they're not creating these hurricanes, but maybe they're using these hurricanes that are forming and manipulating them in little ways. And think of the control that you can take with a hurricane. Think of all the people, all the buildings, all the real estate, all the land, all of the martial law, whatever. You can take control after a hurricane. Don't let any crisis go to waste, right? Don't let any crisis go to waste. And here's the thing. There's plenty of companies out there, like Elon Musk is talking about powering Puerto Rico now after what happened, using technology to help power them. That's a great idea. I think it'd be awesome if we broke out of the petro system. We are controlled. So many of us are controlled. So many parts of our lives are influenced by petroleum, the blood of the earth. What about the gods, right? The gods are living through the blood of humans, through the blood of sacrifice. the archons, these serpent beings. You can read about them through time, through different scriptures and literatures, etc., and prophecies. Well, the blood of the earth is gasoline, ladies and gentlemen. The blood of the earth is petroleum. Think about everything that is running off of the blood of the earth, and think about what demonic influences control that, and what behind the scenes that we don't see, like in the film Branded, where you've got these people walking around that don't even realize that they're controlled by these like 500-foot parasitic entities that are like sucking their energy and controlling where they go and what they do and how they think. It's fascinating. So the final two cards that I want to share with you, and then I am going on a bike ride, and I'll be taking you guys on a field trip with me later if you are interested. Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays, and it's hot in my garage right now, just so you guys know. It's like, feels like it's about 95 degrees in here. I'm sweating pretty awesome. All right, I'm turning on the, yeah, so you can see right now it's showing 90 degrees. So it's warm. Ah, boom. There goes the radar detector, radiation detector, EMF. What's the, okay, 0.1. So my watch is showing, actually my watch is showing 0.11. Vegas. Here you go. What do you think about that? What about that? What about the possibility of there being more than one? Was it just one? And, you know, you can look at the Luxor, you can look at the symbology, but behind the name, the 91, what do they call it? 91 harvest, 91, add another one to that. What do you get? The new 9/11 harvest, harvesting of souls. Robert Stanley, you guys check out Unicus magazine. Go to Robert Stanley's website. He just put an article together about this whole event and what his position is on it. I'm going to have him on the show soon. He's going to talk to us about it. It is mind-blowing, the possibilities and how deep this rabbit hole goes. So I'm going to leave it at that. Whoa, it's hot in here. Thanks for being here. Also, support our sponsors, getthetea.com. They've got a ton of awesome stuff on their website, not just this colostrum, the GI Joy stuff. It's like $38 for a 2-month supply, 1 pill in the morning, 1 pill at night. It's organic. It's the best. They have amazing organic supplements. Check them out. You will thank me later. Be excellent to each other. Be the change you want to see. That's probably not genetically modified. GMO has literally taken over the majority of the planet. The majority of people's food supply and beverage supply is some type of genetically modified organism. Whether or not they're using aborted baby cells as flavor enhancers, whether or not they're using corn that actually produces chemicals without even being sprayed by poisonous chemicals, that if bugs go eat, will cause the digestive system of the bugs to collapse and then the bugs die. Well, they feed that to you, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have kids that go to public school, well, the food that they're eating is probably worse than what many of these fast food restaurants give out to the consumer, which is disgusting and true. So Frankenfood is getting worse by the week. It's becoming more powerful, it's usurped up more of the natural biological seeds and growth that has been easily available for hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of years. Now we have to manipulate it, kind of like they want to manipulate the weather. And within 7 years, I'll get to that card in just a moment. But the Frankenfood card, if you think about it, how many people they are still available? You can go to sjgames.com, Steve Jackson Games, or you could probably go to Amazon, because SJ Games has a storefront on Amazon, and you can collect them as well. I have about 300 or so of these cards, and I handpicked 23 that I think totally parallel what's going on right now, what's happened recently over the past 10, 15 years. And afterwards, I might possibly share with you a few additional cards that I could see being very close on the horizon. So what a beautiful day in San Antonio. Later on, I might go up into hill country or take you guys on a field trip, because I need to get out of grandma's garage, as amazing as it is in here. So the first card that I'm going to share with you is the Frankenfood card, the Frankenfood card. This card is used almost every single day by almost every single human being on the planet. Unless you're fortunate enough, and in some ways unfortunate, that you're so far out in the middle of nowhere that you don't have access to anything except for what you grow. And that it was definitely worth waiting. We do have sound now. Yes, here we go. So did you have fun watching me lip sync for 6.5 minutes? I can't even imagine what I was saying in your mind at the time, but I can't wait for the remix. Hopefully DJ picked that up and he can add something exciting to it. Thank you for joining me this edition of Leak Project. How the heck are you? Unbelievable. Well, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. When you get that excited, I was so excited. You know, I was talking about this amazing colostrum that I'm taking from getthetea.com. I even shared with you how easy it is to mix up. And dang it, we missed out on that. But okay, let's talk about what's important now. We'll start over. I have 23 cards to share with you at first that predict the future, that parallel current events. These cards, in my opinion, the way that I lined them up also, it'll give you a timeline from then until now. Steve Jackson is the publisher, the creator of these Illuminati cards. This is the NWO version that came out, I think, in 94, 95. You can actually still get some of these cards. They don't make them anymore, but warn the patients and talk to them about the side effects and the cause and effect, and also ask them if they've had previous problems. When was the last time a doctor actually warned his patient about a vaccine? Well, anyway, the Frankenfood stuff is absolutely frightening when you think about the amount of poisonous cocktails that are inside of the foods that you are consuming. The drinks in your fridge, the snacks, the dips, the chips, the pig lips inside of a hot dog. And then let's see what the radiation levels are, by the way. The radiation levels have been fluctuating, moving up and down. Right now, my Digi is showing 0.11 microsieverts per hour, which isn't a big deal. My watch is showing 0.12. This was up earlier to 0.13, which is about 30% higher than the average as has been lately the past few weeks. You know, it used to just hover around 0.07. Then every year it's gone up and up and up and up. And I don't think it's Fukushima, folks. I think it's because of the atmospheric conditions, the depletion of the stratosphere, that those that love us so much, that are a part of the International Weather Organization, card number 2. Yes, that's right. The military wants to control the weather completely by 2025. Am I a conspiracy theorist? Yes. Thank you for the compliment. And this is also a fact. Damaged, injured, or even had an illness or a disease that created their death, that led to their death, based on Frankenfood, based on genetically modified food. Now, glyphosate, Roundup, that's in virtually all the corporate products available today that you consume. Glyphosate, Roundup is not good for you. They're even finding glyphosate in vaccines that doctors will now recommend you give to pregnant women. Any doctor that does that willingly, not knowing how, I mean, if you don't know, if you're just ignorant, that's one thing. Although if you're a doctor, you should truly know. Yet with the education system and the indoctrination system, combined with many people that choose to be doctors, not all of them, but a lot of them, because of their superiority complex that many of them have, a lot of them lack empathy and feeling. Well, they give vaccines if their pharmaceutical masters and their corporate controllers, essentially, is what it breaks down to, tells them to. Oh, well, new studies find it's okay. New studies say, you know, there's, read through a vaccine insert at the bottom. It says you need to be, if you're administering these vaccines, you need to